the beginning of Pei Gimel Amud Beis. Okay. Anshe Chotzer va'anshe Mirpeses. So we're going to need pictures for this Gemara, as we'll see here. So let's see if they start with pictures right away. We're talking about a Chotzer that has people living in the Chotzer on a first floor in the Chotzer, and then there are others that are living on a second floor. And they have a Mirpeses, a porch that comes out in the second floor. So you could take a look if they have the pictures here. Just a second. This is going to be picture Tafai and Zion. Okay, that's the picture Tafai and Zion. Okay, so they're all in one chutzner, but there are people that are on the bottom floor and people are on the top floor. So as Rashi says, what happened over here is the people on the top floor that have an opening to this mirpeses, they all made a native chatzeris with each other. The people on the bottom floor also made a native chatzeris with each other. But the people of the top floor and the people of the bottom floor did not make one native chatzeris to share with each other. Okay, so there are two separate chatzeris in that sense. Sheshacharu v'lo yirvu. They didn't make an native chatzeris together. Kol shegavoya yutfachim. So now what happened over here? They don't show it here in the picture. Actually, you could see it in the next picture, in Tafai and Ches, even though it goes in the Hemshech of the Gemara, but you could see it over here in the next picture. So there's this little amud, if you look over there near the wall, there's a little amud or a platform that's in the Chatzar.
A porch?
No. I'm talking about besides the porch. Look in picture Tafai and Ches. Okay? So besides the porch, there's another platform or pillar that's there near the... you see it?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, very good. Near the mirpeses, near the porch. So if that platform is tall 10 tfachim, okay? Kol shegavoya yud tfachim lemirpeses. So if you have another platform inside this chatzar, but it's tall 10 tfachim, the height of the mirpeses, it's tall enough to be near the height of the mirpeses. So again, let me read it again. Kol shegavoya yud tfachim. If this pillar is 10 tfachim tall, lemirpeses. This belongs to the rishus of the mirpeses. Pachas mikan, if this pillar is less than 10 tvachim tall, lechatzer, then the usage of this pillar belongs to the chatzer. Okay, this is the basis of what the Mishnah is saying over here is something that we had before. If you have an area between two chatzeris that did not make a native chatzeris with each other, and that area cannot be used by either one, because that area is separate, can't be used by either one. That's one scenario. Or you have a case where you have a chatzar in between two chatzeris, and both chatzeris in between have easy access to that middle chatzar. So because this middle place has easy access to both of them, both of these chatzeris, and these two chatzeris did not make an native chatzeris with each other, they can't use this middle place without making a native chatzeris. So over here, the point is, if you have a pillar that has a more easier access to the mirpeses, because it's taller, and a less access to the people in the chatzar, so then that pillar belongs to the people of the mirpeses and not to the people in the chatzar. Similar thing, chulyas habar v'asela, you have a pit that has the sand that's around it, and the sand is tall enough, the sand is 10 tvachim tall, v'asela, or a rock that's inside a chatzar, shen gvoyin asara tvachim, it's 10 tvachim tall, l'mirpeses. It has easier access to the mirpeses, so the people of the porch could use it. Pachas mikan, if it has less of an access, if it's lower than 10 tvachim, so it doesn't have that access to the mirpeses, it's more easier access to the people of the chatzar, l'chatzar. Then it belongs to the people of the chatzar, they can use it on Shabbos. Everything we just said here is besmucha. When we're talking about these different scenarios, whether it's a pillar or the sand or the rock, if it's near the porch, then I say if it's tall enough, it belongs to the people of the porch. But if it's further away from the porch, even if it is 10 tvachim tall, l'chatzar, it belongs to the people of the chatzar. What's considered to be close enough that the people of the porch have easy access to it? As long as it's not 4 tvachim far, that's considered to be close. But if it's 4 tvachim away, they can't use it easily, so therefore it does not have the access to the mirpeses, and it's not part of its rishus. Okay. Zok to Gemara. So first the Gemara starts with a few different scenarios here, which are pashit, and then afterwards the Gemara is going to bring a machlokes of Rav and Shmuel. So again, the basic idea over here is when you have a rishus that can't be used easily. You don't have an easy access to two other Rishusim, or you have a Rishus, or like we said in the Mishnah, a platform, or whatever it is, that does not have an easy Rishus for both of them. Whether it does have easy access or not easy access to both of them, that's a place that's going to be also to use of both of them unless they make an Eruv Chatzeres. If there's a place that has an easy access to one and not an easy access to another, so then it belongs to that, it's part of that Rishus that has an easy access to it. Okay, so the Gemara starts off as follows. Pshita, it'll be obvious. Lezeh b'Pesach, u'lezeh b'Pesach. If you have a place, like a pillar or whatever it is, which is bepesach. Bepesach is the term the Gemara uses for easy access. It's like an opening. You have an easy access in this place to both chatzeres, or both rishusin. So let's say, for example, regarding what we said in our Mishnah, if you have a pillar that's more than 3 tfachim high, but it's lower than 10 tfachim. So that's a place that has easy access to the people in the Chatzar, because it's low enough for them, but it's also tall enough for the people of the Mirpeses. That's how Rashi learns this. So it has the same access to the people of the Mirpeses and the people of the Chatzar. So what is this compared to? Hainu chaloin shebein shtei chatzeres. This is similar to a case we had before, when you have a wall between two chatzeres, and there's a window between them, which means that because of that window, they're able to shear and use this wall through this window. So what's the halacha? If you remember what we learned before, they both could use this wall and shear with this window. So therefore the halacha is that the wall itself is a place that they can't carry from it into their chutzah. That wall itself is a place that they both could use on the wall, but not carry into the chutzah. So over here, in our case, since they did not make an Eruv Chatzeres together, so therefore this place they can't take from it into their chutzah. Another case, lezeh bezrike or lezeh bezrike. If you have a place that has a difficult access, the term zrike means you can't use it easily. You have to throw to it. So if you have a place that has a difficult access to both Rishusin, to let's say a Mirpeses, like we had in the Mishnah, the Mirpeses and the Chatzar, they both have a hard access to it. Hainu kaisel shebeim beis chatzeres. So over here, it's like a wall that separates between two chatzeres. And so over here also, this place has a difficult access, and therefore they both cannot use it, and therefore they can't use that area together without making an Eruv Chatzeres. Habat lezeh b'shilshul or lezeh b'shilshul. They both have a difficult time using this place. They both have to lower down. Let's say it's a ditch that's in between. So they both have to lower themselves down to be able to use that space. Hainu charitz shebein beis chatzeres. This is like we learned before, when you have a ditch that's between two chatzeres. Lezeh b'Pesach or lezeh b'Zrike. If there's one rishus that has an easier access to it, and the other one has a difficult access to it, this is what we had in the Mishnah. If it's 10 tvachim high, so then the Mirpeses has the easier access. The Chatzar has a difficult access to it. Hainu de Rabbi bar Avuna Rav Nachman. This is what we learned before. Rabbi bar Avuna Rav Nachman. If you remember, we had before a case where we had a wall between two Chatzeres, and for one Chatzar the wall is 10 tvachim high, and for another Chatzar the wall is less than 10 tvachim high. So he has the easier access to it. So therefore he's allowed to use the wall and not the other rishos. The opposite case, lezeh b'Pesach or lezeh b'Shilshul. If you have one chatzar that can use this place easily, and the other chatzar could only use by lowering down, by bending down, Hainu de Rav Shezvi Amar Rav Nachman. This is Rav Shezvi Amar Rav Nachman that also said when you have a ditch between two chatzeres, and for one it's 10 tvachim deep, and for one it's less than 10 tvachim deep, so the one that it's less than 10 tvachim deep, he has the access to it and he can use this wall. How about, here comes the machlokes of Rav and Shmuel. Lezeh b'Shilshul or lezeh b'Zrike. You have this platform, you have this area. For one, in order to use it, you have to lower yourself down, you have to bring it down. And for the other one, l'bzrike, you would have to throw up. So they both have a difficult access to it, but for opposite reasons. One is shilshul and one is rike. What's going to be the halacha? Rav. So Rav says, Shneim asurim. This is a case where they both have a difficult access to it, and therefore they're both going to be asked to use it if they didn't make an Erev Chatzeres together there. Shmuel Amar. Shmuel says, Noisne noisei lezeshe b'shilshul. We say that this place belongs to the one that has to lower down to use it. Shelezeh tashmishay benachas. It's easier to lower down. Ulezeh tashmishay bekosha. And it's more difficult to have an access when you have to throw up. Between the two of them, what's easier? What's more difficult? It's more easier to lower down than to throw up. Anytime you have the use, and for one it's easier, and for the other one it's more difficult, we had this rule before already. The chatzar, or this platform, this area, will belong to that party that can use it easier by lowering down and not by throwing up. Okay, so this is the machlekes of Rav and Shmuel. When you have a place where one person has to throw up to use it, another person has to lower down to use it, who has the easier access? So Rav says they both are similar, because they both can't use it directly. So therefore it's difficult for both of them. Shmuel says no, the fact is that lowering down is still a bit easier than throwing it up, so therefore the reshus belongs to him. So now let's see what it said in the Mishnah. Tanan, it said in the Mishnah, Anshe Chotzer Anshe Mirpeses, the people of the bottom, and the Chotzer, and the people on the porch. They didn't make an Erev together. So if you have a platform or a pillar that's tall 10 Tvachim, it belongs to the Mirpeses. Pachas Mikan, if it's less than this, L'chotzer. Less than this, it belongs to the people in the Chotzer. So Kasol Kedaitach, the Gemara and originally understood, my Mirpeses, when we're talking about the people of the Mirpeses, B'nei Aliyah, we're talking about the people that are living in the second floor. V'amai Kodele Mirpeses, and why are they called Mirpeses, the people of the Mirpeses? The Kasalki B'Mirpeses, the people of the second floor, they go down into the Mirpeses. Let's see if they have a picture for this. Yeah, take a look and picture Tafai Ches. So if you see over here in Tafai Ches, you have the people on the bottom floor, the Chotzer. Then you have the Mirpeses, which is 10 Tvachim high. But that Mirpeses, which is 10 Tvachim high, 10 Tvachim is not really very high for the bottom floor to be a regular floor. Really, the top floor starts higher than 10 Tvachim. And in order for the people to get from their floor, in the top floor, into the Mirpeses, they have to climb down on a ladder. The Mirpeses is not the same height as the doors. They open up the door, they have to go down with a ladder into the Mirpeses. That's what the Gemara is thinking at this point, because that's what makes sense. The second floor is probably not just 10 Tvachim off the ground. So therefore it comes out, the person from the second floor, if he wants to use this platform, how does he have to use this platform? He's not using it from the Mirpeses, he's using it from the Aliyah, from his house. So in the picture over here, the person from the window, if he wants to use this Mirpeses, he has to lower down something from where he is in his window to this Mirpeses. And the person from the Aliyah, he's lowering it down from the Aliyah to this platform. And the person of the Chotzer has to throw up. He has to go up to be able to use this platform. So it comes out, if we understand the Mishnah this way, this is exactly a scenario that Rav and Shmuel were arguing about. The person of the Chotzer has to throw up, and the person of the window has to throw down. And what did it say in the Mishnah in such a case? That Alme, what do we see here? Kol lezeh b'shilshul or lezeh b'zrike. If one person has to lower down to use this place, and the other person has to throw up to use this place, naisne naise lezeh b'shilshul. We say that this place belongs to the person that's using it by lowering it down, because it said in the Mishnah, if it's 10 Tvachim high, it belongs to the person in the Aliyah, and he has to lower down to use it. So it's a question on Rav. Answers the Gemara, no, kida Amar Rav Huna. Rav Huna said that's not the case. It's not that a person in the second floor is using it from his window. Rather, la'oisan hadarim b'mirpeses. It's the people that are living on the Mirpeses, and they're the ones that are using this platform, which is very near level to his Mirpeses. Like you see it in the next picture, in picture Tafayin Tes. So the second floor, you don't have to climb down from the second floor onto the Mirpeses with a ladder. The second floor is the same level of 10 Tvachim as the Mirpeses itself, as the porch. And the Pshat in the Mishnah is the people of the Mirpeses are using this platform, which is almost level to their Mirpeses. So therefore, that's something which is easier use without Shilshul. So it's not a question on Rav. So Hachanami, so Rav Huna said this in the later part of the Mishnah, as we'll see in a moment. Hachanami lo'oisan adarim b'mirpeses. What we're talking about over here is the people of the Mirpeses could use this platform easier than the people in the Chotzer. Fragt the Gemara, ihachi eime seife. What does it say in the seife? Pachais mikan. If this platform is less than 10 Tvachim high, l'Chotzer. So then this platform will belong to the people in the Chotzer. Fragt the Gemara, but amai, why does it belong to the people in the Chotzer? Lezeh b'Pesach or lezeh b'Pesachu. It's easy access for both people. Something which is less than 10 tefachim high, the people in the Chatzar have an easy access to it, and the people of the Merpeses, it's more than 3 tefachim high. It's not too far from the height of their Merpeses. They also have they have both an equally easy access to it. So then why does it say in the Mishnah that it belongs to the people of the Chatzar? That's the Gemara. My Chatzar, when it said in the Mishnah in that case that it belongs to the Chatzar, it didn't mean that it belongs only to the Chatzar. Af Chatzar. In such a case, it belongs also to the people of the Chatzar. Meaning that this is a case that both the people of the Merpeses and the people of the Chatzar have an easy access to it, and therefore Shneim Asurim. Both of them are going to be usher to use it. If it's 10 tvachim high, so then the people of the Merpeses have an easier access than the people of the Chatzar. If it's not 10 tvachim high, then they both have an easy access to it, and they'll both be usher. That's the pshat in the Mishnah. When it said in the Mishnah L'Chatzar, it meant Af L'Chatzar. It's logical to say that this is the pshat when it says in the Mishnah L'Chatzar, Mediktani Seifa. What does it say in the Seifa of the Mishnah? That when we spoke over here about a platform that's 10 tefachim high, when does it belong to the people of the porch? If it's close to it. But if it's further away from the porch, even if it's 10 tefachim high, l'chatzar. This platform belongs to the people of the chatzar. So the Gemara asks, my l'chatzar. What does it mean that this platform that's 10 tefachim high belongs to the people of the chatzar? Does it mean that it belongs to the people of the chatzar v'shari and it's allowed? Amai reshusa de tarvayu. Why are you saying that it's allowed for the people of the chatzar? This is a place that it's a reshus of both of them. Why? Because for both of them, it's equal access. It's difficult for the people of the porch to use it, because it's removed from the porch. And it's difficult for the people of the chatzar to use this place, because it's 10 tefachim high. So they both have an equally difficult access to this platform. So why does it say in the Mishnah that it belongs to the chatzar? Ella, Maila Chatzar, again, so the way you read, Amai Reshus Tarvayu, why does it belong to both of them? Ella, Maila Chatzar, so I see over here, when it says in the Mishnah that it belongs to the people of the Chatzar, Afla Chatzar. It means that it also belongs to the people of the Chatzar. Shneim Asurim. They both have the same level of access to it, so therefore they're both going to be also to use this place. Hachanami, over here as well, Maila Chatzar, Af l'chatzar. When it says in the Mishnah l'chatzar, it means also the chatzar or shneim asurim, and therefore they're both asur to use this place. Shma mina. Again, the basis of this Gemara is when you have a place that's between two chatzeres and it has an easier access to one chatzar, so that chatzar has the right to use that place without a native chatzeres, not the other one. If it's a place that has an equal level of access to the two chatzeres beside it, so then it's shared equally, and if they didn't make a shared Eid of Chatzeris, they can't use this place in the middle. So over here in a place where you have this porch, top floor, and a Chatzar, a bottom floor, and you have this platform that could be equally used from both the porch and the bottom floor, so then that platform is also to be used by both of them. The Gemara brings now the Seif of the Mishnah, and it goes through the same thing. Tanan, in the Seif of the Mishnah it said, not a platform, but a chulyas abur, sand that's outside a bur, which is 10 tefachim high, va'asela, a rock that's shengvoyim asara, that are 10 tefachim high, limir peses. So that's tall enough that it has an easy access to the people on the porch, and therefore belongs to them. Pachas mikan, if it's lower than this, l'chatzar. It belongs to the people of the chatzar. So again, the Gemara doesn't spell out, but as we said before, the havamin of the Gemara was that we're talking about people that have a second floor and they're higher up even than the merpeses. And they have to lower down to use it. And still we see that it belongs to them. So this is a question on Rav that says that the people that lower down, it does not belong to them. That's not considered to be easy access. Amar Rav Huna, like we said before already, Rav Huna says, La'oisan hadarim b'merpeses. We're not talking about the people on the second floor that have to lower down, but we're talking about the merpeses, which is only 10 tvachim high. Now the Gemara continues and asks regarding this case. Teinach sela. So this could be understood regarding the rock, which is 10 tvachim high. So you're using the rock to put something on top of it. But what's with the pit? How could you explain the fact that the person that's on the merpeses, he's using this pit? So now the Gemara understands, when you use a pit, what are you using a pit for? You're using the pit to get something out of the pit. Right? So even though it said in the Mishnah that you have the pit with the sand that's around it, but you're not using just the sand, the height of the sand, to place something on that place. You're using to take something out of the pit. What are you taking out of the pit? At this point, the Gemara assumes you're taking water out of the pit. You want to draw water. So if you're drawing water, that's going to be lower down, that you have to go inside the pit to take out the water. So if so, the person that's in the bottom in the chutzner, in order for him to get the water out of the pit, how does he get the water out of the pit? He has to take a jug and throw it inside the pit to be able to get it out. The person that's on the top, on the mirpeses, the porch, how does he get the water out of the pit? He has to lower down into the pit, that jug. So it comes out that this is exactly the case that Rab and Shmuel argued about. One person has to throw up and one person has to lower down. That's the case of the boyer here. And what did it say in the Mishnah? It belongs to the person in the porch. So the Gemara, you have to lower down into the pit. This pit is filled with the water till the brim. So if it's filled to the water till the brim, so then the person from the top doesn't have to lower it down inside the pit. He just has, right at the top of the pit, he has water available. So therefore it's easier access to him. He doesn't have to lower it down. Frag the Gemara, but v'hachasra, over Shabbos, if you're going to draw water from this pit, the level of the water is going to become lower down. And then he's going to have to lower down the water, he's going to have to lower down his jug into the pit. Zok the Gemara, but Kivin, the Chimalia, Sharia, since when it's full, it is allowed for the person on the porch to use from it. He has easier access. So then, since it's allowed, Ki Chasra Nami Sharia. Even if the level of the water goes down, it's still going to be allowed. Frek the Gemara Adarab. The Svara is the opposite. Kivin the Chichasra Asira, since when the level of the water goes down, it becomes Aser, Kimalia Nami Asira. Even when it's full of water, it should still be Aser. What's the pshat in this Gemara? So as the Rashi explains, the Ritva explains, what the Gemara is saying is, one svara the Gemara has, that when it comes to Erev Chatzeris, you should follow the status of the place when Shabbos entered. By the beginning of Shabbos, it was full with water. So the guy on the top had easier access, so it belongs to him. Later on Shabbos, the access is going to change. It doesn't matter. You follow the status that it has in the beginning. But then the Gemara says, no. That's only true if you have something that you would have expected to stay there. But if you have something that when Shabbos comes in, it's takavir, the water is filled to the top, but you know for sure you're going to be drawing from this water. It's a davar hanittel. You know for sure it's going to be taken away. So because you're planning on taking it away, so therefore the fact that it's there, it doesn't matter. We once had this before in the Gemara when it spoke about a wall, and you want to minimize the height of the wall, and you put a stool near the wall, or you put a basket near the wall, and so be able to go over the wall easily. If it's something that's not dug into the ground, and you don't make it there permanent, the fact that it's there, it's a davar hanittel. It's something that you take away, and therefore the fact that it was there in the beginning of Shabbos doesn't matter. So that's the Gemara's question here. The fact that there's water there and it makes it easier access in the beginning of Shabbos is not enough because it's going to be taken away. What we're talking about over here is a boyer that's full of peiris. So therefore those peiris are going to stay there and you can use it by putting something down on top of these peiris. Frak the Gemara, the same question with the peiris. You're going to use the peiris also, it's going to be lower down. And says the Gemara betivla. We're talking about peiris that are tevel, which means that it's muktzeh, and therefore you're going to leave those peiris there. And therefore the person of the porch has an easy access putting things down into this bird that's full to the brim with these peiris that you're not going to move away, and you're allowed to put down on top of this.
Erev Truman also will put food that might be eaten.
The what?
You put by Erev Truman food that will be
Erev
eaten.
Truma, what?
Erev Truman.
We're talking about Erev Chatzeris here.
I understand, but over there it's fine if it's eaten. Before Shabbos it's there, and then it's eaten. Afterwards it can be eaten.
No, by Erev Tchumen we go according to the beginning of Shabbos, the Shvis in the beginning of Shabbos. Okay, so we're talking about peiris that are tevel. So therefore it's not going to be removed. Dekenami, a raya that when the Mishnah talks about this boyer, the boyer is full to the top, and it's full with something that you're not going to take away. When the Mishnah mentioned the boyer and the chulya of the boyer, it was saying it compared to a rock. Just like a rock has its height, and you can't remove that height is not changing. Shema Minah, the same thing also with the boyer. It's filled with fruits, and it's staying there the whole Shabbos. Okay, so now the Gemara asks, if so, v'lamali lemisna boyer, v'lamali lemisna sela. So why did the Mishnah have to say both cases? It's basically the same thing. You have a platform, and now the Mishnah is saying you have a boyer and you have a sela that both have this height. Why does it say both cases? And for the Gemara, it's tzricha. You need to have these both cases. The yashminan sela, If we would say the case of a sela, of a rak, the lekela migzar, there's no room for any gzeiris. Aval boir, ligzar, maybe by a boir, I would have thought that there's a room for a gzeira, zimnin de malya peris musukanen. Though I should say that the person of the porch is not allowed to use his boir because maybe he's going to fill it with peris that he could remove, and then it's going to become lower down, and then it won't be easy access for him. So I should be geyser that even if it's filled with peris that are tevel and are muktzah and he can't remove, I should say that he doesn't have that access to it. Tzricha. So therefore the Mishnah says, even in such a case, I don't make this gzeira and he has the access to it. This is one of the sources, by the way, where you see that when it comes to muktzah, the isser of muktzah is to move muktzah, but not to touch muktzah, not to even use the surface of muktzah. These peris are tevel, it's a surface of muktzah. But nevertheless, the person of the porch could use it easily. He could put things down onto this boir that's filled with peris.
To move?
But no, he's not moving it. I'm saying that's because he's placing down on it, it's allowed. Muktzah, the isser of muktzah is only when you move muktzah. There's no isser to touch muktzah, there's no isser to hold muktzah, anything like that, just to move muktzah. But the Mishnah, that's why the Gemara says Deikanami. Because it's compared to Salah. Just like Salah is not moving, this is also something which is not moving.
Always say to the kids, don't touch it, smoke it.
No.
Oh, they're going to move it probably. Once they touch it, move.
The Isser of Muktzah is not touching, it's a misconception. The Isser of Muktzah is moving.
No, Shabbos is something you don't need. It's Muktzah, you're allowed to touch it, no?
Not allowed to move it. That's the halacha of Muktzah. You're not allowed to move it, you're allowed to touch it. Over here there's a bigger chiddush. Not only you're allowed to touch it, you're allowed to store things on it. You're allowed to put things on it. Okay? Tashema, we learned in the Braisa. Anshe chotzer v'anshe aliyah sheshakchu v'loi ervu. People of a chotzer and people of the second floor that forgot to make a native. Anshe chotzer. So mishtamshim ba'asara tachtainim. So what are we talking about over here? If you take a look, so they have over here in the picture, tough pay. Okay, so you have a wall over here. You have the people of the top floor and the people of the bottom floor, and there's ledges coming out. So there's the top 10 tfachim, there's the bottom 10 tfachim, and then there's the middle. So you have 3 ledges. So who has easier access to these different ledges that are coming out from the wall of this house? So the Braisa says, Anshe chotze mishtamshim basara tachtainim. The people of the Chotzer, they have easier access to the lower 10 Tvachim. So they could use that. Anshe Aliyah, the people of the second floor, Shtamshim Basar al Yainim, they have an easier access to the top 10 Tvachim. So they can use that. Keitzad, ziz, ayetzim rakoisel lamata masara lachotzer. So the ziz, a ziz that comes out of a wall, a ledge that comes out of the wall that's 10 tvachim and below, that belongs to the chotzer. Lamayla masara, if it's in the space that's above 10 tvachim, la aliyah. That belongs to the people of the top floor. The beini. How about a ledge that's in between? Aser. It would be aser to use. Okay, so if you look over here in the picture, the Gemara's Havamina is that we're talking about a wall that's more than 20 Tvachim high. You have the top 10 Tvachim, you have the lower 10 Tvachim, and then you have also space in the middle. So you have a ledge that would be in the middle, then it would be Aser. Now, if you only have a ledge in the middle, who has easier access to it? The answer is, the person from the top floor has to lower himself down to use it. The person from the bottom floor has to throw up to use it. This is the exact case that Rav and Shmuel argued about. Right? And what did Shmuel say? That the person that has to lower down has easier access, and he could use it. But what do you see in this Braisa? That if it's in between, and one has to lower down, and one has to go up, so Rav is right. It says that it's going to be Aser for both of them. The Beini Aser. Rav Nachman says there's no in between over here. That's not what you can't be medayik this, because we're talking about a wall that there is no in between. Hacha bekaisel tisha asar askinan. Here we're talking about a wall that's 19 tvachim high. Viziz yaitze mimena lamata masara. When you have a ledge that comes out that is in the lower 10 tvachim, below 10 tvachim, lezeh bepesach, lezeh beshilshul. The person in the chotzer has easy access to it, and the person on the top has hard access. He has to lower down. In the top 10 tvachim of this wall, lezeh bepesach. The person on the top floor has easy access. Lezeh bezrike, and the person on the bottom floor has to throw up to it, and he has a hard access to it. So you have it in picture Tov Pei Aleph. It's just a lower wall. There is no in between. you can't be medayik from this brayso about anything in between, because this is talking about a case that there is no in between. Okay. Sagt the Gemara weiter. Tashema, I'll bring you a raya from the following case. Shteig zusterois. You have two porches. Zu l'mayla mizu. These two porches are one higher than the other. Okay, so yeah, there's a lot over here that the Gemara itself does not say, and Rashi explains it, but if we look in the picture, we'll understand very simply what's going on over here. If we look in picture Tuf Pei Beis, we're talking about two porches that are above water. You have the picture? Okay, got it. So you have in picture Tuf Pei Beis, two porches above water, and they want to be able to draw water from below them. So how can they draw water below them? So you drill a hole inside the chutzah. Look at the top porch here. So what the guy on the top porch did is, he drills a hole in his porch and he creates mechitzas. So what's the issue of drawing water from the bottom, from the water to your porch? Your porch is a Reshus HaYachid. The water on the bottom is a carmelis. You're not allowed to take from a carmelis to your porch. So usually, in order to be able to bring from a carmelis to your porch, you have to make a full mechitzah that extends all the way down to the water. What Chachamim were mekel, and Chachamim said, you don't have to make a full mechitza. As long as you have that mechitza that is there, that you make in the hole that you drilled, a mechitza of 10 tefachim that goes lower down, even if it doesn't go all the way down to the bottom, that's a good enough of a mechitza, and you're allowed to now draw water from that hole, from the bottom, and lift it up. Okay, this is, by the way, what's called mechitza tluya. We had this before a few times. It's a mechitza that doesn't extend all the way to the bottom, it's hanging, but in this case, Chacham will mekel, and you're allowed to use this. So now, what happened over here? You have these two porches. The top porch made this place to be able to draw water. The bottom porch, which is beside him, he's not under him, but he's beside him, he did not make that hole. He wants to get access from this hole to be able to draw water. In order for him to get access, what is he going to have to do? He has to throw up his jug of water, his pail of water, to be able to go down to get the water. That's the case over here. So again, the guy in the top could just lower down, his keli to get the water. The guy in the bottom has to throw up his keli to be able to lower down.
Why can't he go just, the guy from the bottom can go just to the water?
Again? Because he has no mechitza. In order to get water from a carmelis, you have to create epis mechitza, at least a hanging mechitza, to be able to access the water. The guy in the bottom porch did not. Now here's the other issue. These two people of these two chatzeres did not make an eid of chatzeres with each other. So the person from the bottom porch, is he allowed to throw his pail up to use from that hole that goes on? He didn't make an eid of chatzeres with the guy in the top. So let's see what it says over here. Now let's see inside the Lashon. Shtei gezusterois, these two porches, zu l'mayla mizu. One is higher than the other. Asu le'el yayna. They drilled a hole and made the place to be able... Sorry about that. Asu le'el yayna. The people on the top porch made that space and the opening and the mechitza to be able to draw the water. And the person on the bottom did not make this. They're both going to be aser to use this hole to draw the water until they make an eid of chatzeris together. So the question is, why are they both aser? Who has an easier access to this hole? The person in the top porch, in order for him to use this hole to draw the water, how does he use it? He just has to lower down. He has to lower down his pail to get the water. The person on the bottom porch, he has a much more difficult access to it. For him, he has to throw it up, zrike, and then he has to lower it down. Right? So what do you see over here? So this is a question on Machlokes of Rav and Shmuel. So what did we have before? Shmuel said when it's lezeh bezrike, lezeh b'shilshul, I say that the person that has to lower it down has an easier access and therefore belongs to him. Rav said no. If they both have a difficult access, even if one has a little bit easier, it doesn't matter. So over here, in our case, you have a clear raya to Rav. Who has an easier access to this? The person on the top porch has an easier access. But because even the person on the top porch doesn't have direct access, he has to use this by lowering it down, I say that they're shnei masurim, they're going to have to make an eid of chatzeris together in order to be able to use this, because the person on the bottom porch could also use it. That's the shaila. And Rashi actually explains that the Gemara's Shaila is a Kal V'Chomer, because in this case, it's you see so much clearer how the person on the top porch has an easier access than the person on the bottom porch. The person on the top porch, he has to be mishalshal he has to lower down his pail to use the water. That's it. The person on the bottom porch has to do two things. He has to throw up his pail, and he has to be mishalshal, and he has to lower down his pail to get the water. So he has two things that he has to do in order to have the access. And still it says that because they both have, to some degree, a difficult access, they have to make an Erev Chatzeris together. So this is a very big question on Shmuel. Answers the Gemara, Amar Avad Barave, the case here is a bit different. B'boim b'nei tachtoina derech al yoina l'malois. The case over here is that the people of the tachtoina have a ladder. There's a ladder between the two porches. As you see here in picture, Tov Pei Dalet. Okay, so because they have a ladder, so therefore, he comes up, he has an easy access to go up. They're both being mishalshal. He doesn't have to throw up his pail. He just goes up on the ladder. So because they both have the same access, so therefore they have to make a native chatzeris together. Abaye says, Kagoin de Kaimen b'toich hasare da dodi. These two porches, one is higher up, and one is taka lower down, but they're very close to each other, and they're also, the one that's higher up is less than 10 tfachim higher. Okay, take a look in picture Tov Pei Hey. That's the case. So because they're so close to each other, so therefore the lower porch is not considered to be a porch that has less of the difficult access or easier. It's a both very similar access to this hole that they have to lower down and keli into it. And now Abai explains what was the chiddush of this brayse. V'loi mibaye ka'amar. This brayse is telling you a bigger chiddush. Loi mibaye, needless to say, asul l'tachtaina, v'loi asul el yaina, da asiri, that in a case when the asul l'tachtaina, asul l'tachtaina, that they made a Erev Chatzeris, I think it means, huh? What's the type of asul el yaina? Asul l'tachtaina. They made an Erev Chatzeris for the tachtaina. V'loi asul el yaina. They did not, huh? Sorry, again, yeah, okay, sorry, okay, very good. So let me buy it. Also, l'tachtaina, if they made this place to be able to draw the water, right? This hole, they drilled this hole, and this place to be able to draw the water. If they made that opening for the lower porch, v'lo yasol al yaina, they did not make it for the porch above. Okay, so this is, in other words, in the opposite. They don't have a picture for this, but exactly like whatever we had in the picture before, in the opposite. Instead of having the opening in the top porch, the opening is on the bottom porch. Okay, so needless to say, in such a case, if the opening was made in the bottom porch and it was not made in the top porch, the asiri, that in such a case it's going to be aser. Why? The kivin, the begoy, yud, since these two porches are near each other within 10 tfachim of space, the only difference between them in the height is less than 10 tfachim. So begoy yud hadadadi kaimen, so they're within 10 tfachim of space between each other. Aser and adadi, so they aser on each other because they both have the same easy access to use this hole that they made to draw the water. Even if the hole to draw the water is in the top porch, and it's not in the bottom porch, there would be a svara to say, the one in the top porch has a little bit of an easier access. It's on his porch. The one that's on the lower porch, so he has a little bit of a more difficult access. He has to go up. He has to go up to use it. I should say that the one that has an easier access is the one that could use it. Kamash Malan, the chiddush of this brayse is kivin the begoy asara kaimen, because they're within 10 tvachim of space to each other. Asran ahadadi, they aser on one another. Okay, so the chiddush of this brayse is dafke in this case when it's the top porch that has the hole and not the bottom porch. So even though they're within 10 tfachim of each other, but he still has to go up a little bit. The one of the bottom porch has to go up with his pail a little bit. I would have thought that he's considered to be less of an easy access. That's the chiddush, that even in this case, he has the same level of access. And the Gemara brings a raya to this. Kiha Damar Rav Nachman Omar Shmuel. This is what Rav Nachman said in the name of Shmuel. Gag hasamach l'reshus harabim. You have a roof that's near the reshus harabim. Okay, so this roof that's near the Reshus Harabim is more than 10 Tvachim higher than the Reshus Harabim. Okay, so take a look in the picture, Tuf Pei Vav. This is the picture that we're talking about. You have a roof, and you have on one side the Rosh Hashanah passing through the area where this roof is. And the roof is above 10 Tfachim. So the Gag, which is Samach Rosh Hashanah. So, and then you also have a Merpeses. See, you have a porch that is within 10 Tfachim to the Rosh Hashanah. So this Gag, which is higher than 10 Tfachim for the Rosh Hashanah, so what's the halacha? The people of the Rosh Hashanah, do they have usage of this Gag, which is higher than 10 Tfachim of the Rosh Hashanah? So they have usage. This Gag is pretty low. It's higher than 10 Tfachim, but the people of the Rosh Hashanah could use the top of this roof with a difficult access, right? Because it's taller than 10 Tfachim. This Merpeses is closer to the Rosh Hashanah. This Merpeses is within 10 Tfachim of the Rosh Hashanah. So what does it say here in the Braisa? What did Shmuel that is say? Tzarech sulam kavua la'atira. You have to place a permanent ladder over there for between the Merpeses and the Gag to separate it from the Rosh Hashanah. That now this Gag is designated for the people of the Merpeses to go up on it, and not for the people of the Rosh Hashanah. So what do we see from here? Sulam kavua in. If you have a sulam kavua, if you have a permanent ladder, then it separates the Gag from the Rosh Hashanah. Sulam aray loy. But if you don't have a permanent ladder there, it will not separate the Gag from the Rosh Hashanah. My timer. What's the reason? Lav isn't the reason. Mishum de kivin de betoich asara da hadadi kaimi asra na hadadi. Because this Merpeses is within 10 Tfachim to the Rosh Hashanah. Right, the porch, the side porch over here, it's within 10 Tfachim of the Rosh Hashanah, and it's also within 10 Tfachim to the top roof. So because that Merpeses in between the roof and the Rosh Hashanah is within 10 Tfachim of the Rosh Hashanah, and it's also within 10 Tfachim of the Gag, that's going to aser the Gag. And says the Gemara, so therefore the same thing over here. Same thing over here when you have the other porch, which is within 10 Tfachim of the Rosh Hashanah, within the 10 Tfachim of the other porch, it's going to aser on it. So the Gemara, no, it's not a raya. Maskeflar of Papa asks, V'dilme, maybe that case is different. Kesherabim mechatven olav bekumse v'sudra. This roof, even though it's above 10 tfachim, the reason why it's going to be aser is because people have access to this roof that's low enough for people to put their clothing on it, for a person to put his hat on it. So therefore, it has an access to the Rosh Hashanah, a direct access to the Rosh Hashanah. And the only way you take away the access to the Rosh Hashanah is if you put a ladder on the Merpeses to designate it that it belongs to the Merpeses and not to the Rosh Hashanah.